So in the previous video, we learned about decision control statements, specifically if statements, if else, and if else if statements, as well as switch statements. In this one, we're going to see and we're going to go through evaluate an example of a decision control statement written using Java. So as you see, this is a Java class with with a driver function, which is main. You see over here. So what are we doing over here? We are essentially we have a integer with value of 3, which is hours here, and we have this if else if sequence of statement. So what we do over here is if hours is greater than 1, and in this case this statement would evaluate to true because 3 is greater than 1, then we do system.out.println evening. We are expecting all this is in PM in this program, I believe. So system.out.println evening gets printed on the console. But if hours had a separate value, if this statement hadn't have it evaluated to false, we have come to evaluating the second statement, seeing if hours was greater than 2, then we say it's afternoon, and if it's not evening or afternoon, we default to it being morning. So depending on the value of hours, we have 3 conditions, and it gets evaluated in 3 Boolean statements, or 2 Boolean statements and 1 default statement. And that's one way to think about how if-else-if statements work. Now we're going to talk about switch case statements. So switch case statement is kind of very similar to what we saw the if statements, except for one key difference. The expression, the switch over here, is not a Boolean expression. It's a switch expression. So let's see what the switch expression means. Instead of every time doing a comparison and Boolean comparison saying if n is greater than this, if n equals this, we just say if a switch n, when n's value is 1, do this. In this case, we are going to print the value 1 on the console. Sorry, just give me a second. So if 1's value is 2, we're essentially going to print value 2. So you see how this has simplified the switch, the if statements. Instead of writing a lot of code, if n equals 1, then do this, we just, we are writing less code. It's a optimized way of writing, handling multiple switch or multiple if cases is using switch. And you will see that there's something called break. It's a requirement. It basically says that we have satisfied the switch condition, break out of the switch statement and go to the next block of Java code. When the program encounters this break statement, it's going to get out of this entire switch block, and the control will go outside it right over here. You'll see something else called a default statement. So you remember here we have n, which is of type int, which can have values till 2 billion or something, 2 billion something, and we have only covered cases 1 through 7. So there's some other value of n which we haven't covered. We will handle that case using a default statement. For anything else, we're going to print default on the screen. And that's a summary of how switch decision control statements work in Java. Thank you.